Hello everyone and welcome back to Daybreak the Host Interviews. This is episode 2 and I am Faith Gagnon, your host for this episode. I am joined by the host of Daybreak and Daybreak Stories, Nicholas Sadowski. Hello.
Hello.
You've had a lot of guests on your show so far, so I was wondering, how do you choose your guests?
Well, it's a complicated process because I don't always choose the guest. I often try and get guests to reach out to me. For example, I did fairly recently in the past month, I did a update video, and my friend TJ Bonica actually reached out to me and said, hey, I can come on and talk about this if you want to. And I often encourage people to reach out, but that doesn't always happen. Usually I have to go like, would you like to come on? But I choose my guests based on what I know about them generally. I don't always know everything about them. For example, I've had guests on like Maeve Ross. Practically knew nothing about her beforehand, but I knew what she did, she was the student government, president. And so I try to choose people who I know what they do, and I know that they are good at that thing. For example, I had you on twice. We talked about music. I know you're very good at music, and so I had you on to talk about it. I had TJ Bonica on to talk about plays and his role with sound engineering and everything, which I know he's good at. So I don't always have to know the person entirely, but I never choose someone who I know nothing about. The only time that really has ever happened is with Ben Ashworth, who is from Douglas, Massachusetts, and the only reason why I had him on is because he reached out to me and Bianca Anderson knew him, and she said, oh, he's a great guest, and so I had him on with her recommendation. But I would never have someone like reach out from California saying, hey, I want to come. I'm like, I don't know who you are, what you do, I can't verify anything. So I don't really know them, so I don't really have them on. But people that I even just vaguely know, I always welcome to have on, and they tend to be people either from Dover, Sherborne, or here. And I'm trying to get more people from Norwell to come on, because I've actually had more Dover Sherborne people come on, and I feel like if I live in Norwell, I should have Norwell people on. But yeah.
So with all your guests, how do you come up with the questions for them?
This is another complicated thing, because if it's the first time I'm having them on, it tends to be very basic questions. For example, when I first had TJ on, the questions are like, what do you do? How did you get interested? Like, if you watch all the episodes, you like find a theme with like my first couple of questions, like how were you introduced to this? How do you like this? Why do you like this? But the more someone came on, the more complicated the questions got. I had Alexandra Duval on, the author from New Hampshire, and I asked her questions about economics and selling and demographics and everything because she was a more sophisticated guest, and because people who were tuning in weren't tuning in to just see why she's an author, like how does it work and everything. When I have guests come on multiple times, I tend to go into more detail because they've already come on to answer the simple questions. Like when I had you on, the first time it was more like, how did you get interested in music? What instruments do you play? You talked about the trumpet and the baritone and the trombone. But the second time you came on, I went a little bit more in depth, like what are you doing to further your career? Like just a bunch of those more in-depth questions. So it really depends on when they come on and the number of times they've come on before then. But the questions the first time generally tend to be the very baseline questions, because the point of it is to give an insight into young people's just lives in general. Like that was the whole point of it, really.
How do viewers join the Daybreak Board of Ideas?
Another interesting question. The Daybreak Board of Ideas is not something that is very well known, which I'm actually happy to talk to the viewer about. The Daybreak Board of Ideas is the board that I created that I consult with ideas. For example, with this, I have been in communication with them for months about this specific episode. I sent them stuff yesterday, the day before that, and the only two people on it currently are Riley Krovinger and Grace Mulrooney. And the way I originally set it up, I used to do stories on my Instagram with Daybreak stuff. So the qualifications for getting on the Daybreak Board of Ideas was you had to come on the show at least once. You had to respond to at least one of those stories and show a general interest in it. And have watched at least 3 episodes of the show. Because if you're going to be consulting me on how to create games and questions and guests, you have to understand how the show works and understand the themes and everything. Riley Kravinger has watched literally every single episode, responded to almost every single story, and has been on like 5 times. And she has been ridiculously helpful with the testing we're doing. If you haven't seen it, we're doing testing with the new studio. I did a number of changes yesterday and the day before that, and the studio is completely different now. It's all renovated. So if you want to watch me fiddling around with like electronics and things, go watch the update video and the Daybreak testing campaign. But these people have to just have a general understanding of how the show works in order to be a part of it. And I just basically say, what do you think of this game? What do you think of having this guest on? Do you have any recommendations? I was talking with Riley, and she recommended a number of guests. She said she would help me recruit guests for the show. So just, it sounds like, ooh, the board of ideas, super official. It's really just a group of people that help me run the show when I don't know what I'm doing.
So my next question I have for you is, why don't you share your questions with your guests?
I love answering this question. I talk about it so many times. Okay, so the reason why is because the purpose of Daybreak is, I mean, the original reason why I started it was because I was very bored, but the reason why I still do it is because I like talking with people, and I wanted to have a genuine conversation with a person. I like watching Conan and Jimmy Fallon and James Corden, but the issues with these high-level production shows is that they have rehearsals. The guests know what they're going to ask. The jokes are like rehearsed. Like they know what's going to happen. This show isn't the 30, like Conan is not 30, I mean the show is on the TV 30 minutes, but it's like 5 hours worth of being in the studio. Like guests, he says this like same jokes 5 times until they get the reaction they want. And it's so overproduced, and then you lose the authenticity of the show. So I don't give my questions to the guests because I want them to have a genuine, authentic reaction to anything I ask them. If I have a joke, I'm not gonna, if it's actually a really funny joke, I don't want them to have a subtle laugh because they've heard it 10 times. I want them to have a genuine reaction. Hopefully they'll laugh at it. Sometimes I'm not that funny, but yeah, but I don't give it to them because I just want a genuine, good reaction. And this sometimes scares guests because they're like, I don't know what I'm doing. When I did the flipped interview with Riley, I didn't know the questions she was going to ask me. So when I flipped the camera, I'm like, oh my God, what is she going to ask me? I'm not prepared for this. I'm used to seeing the questions in front of me, but I didn't know them. But the reactions that I gave are authentic, genuine reactions to the questions she asked, and same with her. I wrote these questions, but I don't know the order. I forgot the order, and I forgot the wording of them pretty much because I wrote them last night at like 10, and I was already like dead inside. But like I don't really remember how these questions are worded, so I'm giving an authentic reaction because I just genuinely don't know.
With all the guests you've had on your show, have you ever run out of guests?
Oh yeah, yes, definitely. I think if you go onto my Instagram, if you follow me on Instagram, I have a private account, but if you do follow me on Instagram, there is a section of that which is called Guides, and there's like 5 fun facts about Daybreak. If you go down there, you'll see what I'm about to talk about. So season 4 was the last season of Daybreak with the old format, the old theme song, the old way of doing things, and that season was ended because I ran out of guests. I didn't know where to go. The whole month of August, I framed it as a way for me to refurbish the studio, renew Daybreak, but the real reason for doing that was because there was just no one to interview. I'm like, crap, I don't know what to do. So I had to scramble to find people, and season 5 was the greatest season of Daybreak we've ever had. We had 8 episodes, a variety of different guests across all different genres, and the month and the break allowed me to get those people, but I did run out of guests. After season 5, I also ran out of guests, and so my dilemma was, should I cancel Daybreak, or should I postpone it again like I did in August? And I decided we're going to do it every summer. So there's a reason why Daybreak 2021 is in July and wasn't last year. It's because I didn't have anyone to interview. And so I'm starting planning now to find guests. I have about 15 or 16 potential guests that I have on a list on my computer, and I will be starting to ask these guests if they want to join. I've already started. I asked Ali Toper, TJ Bonica, you, Riley Kravinger, who will be doing her own episode. That's a different thing. But like, I've already started asking people because I want to be prepared now, because I'm not going to run out of guests in the middle of the summer when I still have like 4 episodes to go. But yeah, that has happened before.
With all your guests you have planned for the summer, what is your plan for the future of Daybreak?
I'm hoping the future is bright. I really do. I really care about this show like deeply. Like, this is my pride and joy. I spend hours on this. I spent the entire day yesterday working on this specific episode, writing those, designing the cards and everything, like making sure everything was perfect. And I would love to see this thing succeed. I've been offered by Ron Bossy, who's behind the camera, to use his studio, which is so generous of him, and I'm incredibly grateful, to use this studio for some Daybreak episodes and for this, which is the greatest thing I've ever done. I've never thought I'd be here looking at these different cameras in the studio, sitting across from Faith here, in the middle of COVID. Like, this is insane, and it's amazing. And I'm hoping that this will bring forth a bright future for Daybreak, where we have an abundance of guests and a lot of good memories and a lot of good experiences on the show. I redid the studio to try and bring more light into it and try and do something new. And it's been an amazing journey, and I'm hoping that the future that will occur in the future, will be a bright one for Daybreak. And I'm 90% sure it will be.
Okay, well, thank you for answering all my questions, and thank you everyone for watching this episode of the Host Interviews. I had a great time, and I hope everyone enjoyed watching. Nick, do you have any final words?
I do have some final words. Thank you to everyone here at Bossy Studios, the people behind the camera. Thank you to you for agreeing to host. It's been, as you said, it's a really fun time doing this. I had an amazing time, and thank you everyone for taking time out of your Sunday at 1 p.m. to help me put this together. But yeah, so thank you everyone who watches Daybreak and who has watched Daybreak, and I hope you'll turn in on July 4th for the launch of Daybreak 2021.